our official newspapers on December 13, 2023, and notice of this meeting was posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building. Take roll call. Councilwoman Donovan? Here. Councilwoman Kinney?
Here.
Mayor Bethel Fusco?
Here.
Councilwoman Rondinero?
Here.
And Councilman Levis is absent.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence for our troops, their families, and our first responders. Thank you. Tonight we have a proclamation that Councilman Romero is going to read. It's a little lengthy, so just bear with us. And it's about the being a stigma-free community, and goes into why taking care of mental health issues is so important.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Stigma-free community. Whereas the Monmouth County Board of Commissioners, along with the Monmouth County Department of Human Services, supports the designation of stigma-free communities in every municipality. And whereas at their June 26, 2018 meeting, the Monmouth County Board of Chosen Freeholders unanimously passed a resolution supporting the designation of Monmouth County as a stigma-free community. And whereas Monmouth County recognizes that 1 in 4 Americans has experienced mental illness, including substance use disorders in a given year, according to the National Institute of Mental Health. And whereas mental health problems are more common than cancer and heart disease combined, affecting children and adults, including more than half of our Iraq and Afghanistan veterans treated at Veterans Administration hospitals. And whereas, given the serious nature of this public health problem, we must continue to reach millions who need help. Whereas the stigma associated with the disease of mental illness is identified as the primary reason individuals fail to seek the help they need to recover from the disease. And whereas stigma-free communities aim to inspire public interest in open dialogues about stigma, raise awareness of the disease of mental illness and substance use disorders, and create a culture wherein residents who have the disease of mental illness and/or substance use feel supported by their community and neighbors and feel free to seek treatment for the disease without fear of stigma. And whereas promoting awareness that there can be no health without mental health will break down barriers and encourage residents of all ages to be mindful of their mental health and to ask for help when needed. And whereas local resources are available to treat the diseases of mental illness and substance use disorders, so no resident needs to suffer alone or feel hopeless. And whereas establishing stigma-free communities will raise awareness of resources, inclusive language, and encourage residents to engage in care as soon as the need is identified so recovery can begin, hope is inspired, and tragedies are avoided. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Borough of Belmar recognizes the community need and supports the effort of the County of Monmouth in designating the Borough of Belmar as a stigma-free community.
Thank you. Let's move on to workshop discussion. Tonight we're going to have a little presentation by our borough engineer, Jim Orris, on marina and infrastructure improvements. Take it away, Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, members of the governing body and members of the public, professionals. I did bring a map because while we're going to talk a little bit about the marina, and maybe I'll start there, I also brought a map which is a culmination of and a compilation of some of the priorities that we've developed through administration, through public works, the sewer and water department. But with regards to, can everyone hear me? Okay.
Would it be better if we sat down there? I mean, I don't know if you're...
This, like this?
Yes,
Yeah.
you can see the map as well.
John.
No, I mean, if we all face this
Sure.
so they can see the map. What's happening up here?
Nothing. I'm not going to be having a presentation this evening.
Okay.
Okay. With regards to the PowerPoint. So with regards to the marina, we developed an overall comprehensive multi-year plan on what improvements are required with regards to our marina. The number one priority that we identified with regards to the need is the replacement of the fuel dock. Last year, we had to do a temporary repair on the fuel dock. That temporary repair is holding up. We had to refloat some parts of the fuel dock because the floats underneath had deteriorated and actually fallen into the bottom of the river. So it was less flotation, and it was much more stable. We were really concerned that the actual concrete decking could wind up collapsing and falling through the bottom, taking the gas pump with it. So we were able to, in a very fast way, get new floats underneath. We worked with Albert Marine, and we were able to do a temporary repair on the fuel dock, so that we continue to have fuel for our residents. And by way of reference, that's the only fuel on the Shark River. So without that fuel dock, many of the boating public would be without fuel. That's not to say that the marina head boats, the party boats, don't have fuel because they have their own fuel supply. So it only affected the recreational boaters. Again, the number one priority is going to be to replace the fuel dock. We have been in contact with the supplier that we would like to secure docks from. They're the Belmar Marine, and any bid that we put out on the street will be or equal. So it's not as though we're choosing them. We're just picking a product that specifies what the borough is looking for in terms of the type of dock, the structural integrity of the dock, the surfaces of the dock, how the electric and the fuel lines are going to run through. We specify all of that and or equal. So we're just about ready to go to bid on that project. I would say within 2 weeks we should be able to go out to bid. The good news is we originally thought that lead time on these docks was more like 6 months. And that was back, we talked to these people about 6 months ago, and they said that their docks were 6 months out due to a backlog of material. There was leftover COVID impacts. However, since that time, their lead time on the docks now is 12 weeks. So we're looking at a 3-month lead time. So the general schedule would be to go out to bid late August, have about a 3 to 4 week bid period, hopefully award the project in October, and have the docks here for February for an install, which would be the best time to do it because of the downtime of the recreational boating people. We did talk about trying to stage the installation of the docks to make sure that we always have one pump open, but logistically it's difficult. It can be done, but it adds a lot of cost to the project, which the borough really doesn't need to incur on that particular project. So that's the update on the marina. That's the first phase of the priority for the marina. But we did put together an overall budgeting plan so that in the years to come, borough can budget for future projects. There are other pilings that need to be replaced. There's other docks that need attention. And the last thing I should mention is that docks J, K, and L had an electrical upgrade. That work will be completed hopefully within the next 60 days. The contractor was waiting on supplies with regards to some of the pedestals needed to be upgraded to a 50 amp service, and they were not readily available. So that contract is with Maggio Electric, and they should be done hopefully within the next, like I said, 60 days. So that's the update on the marina. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Yes.
How long does the installation take once we get it in February?
Good question. I would anticipate once they're here, they can set them in place, drive the piles. It should be 2 weeks. At most 30 days on an install for the for them, and that would only be if there was complications with the piping and electric. Yes.
Linda Sharkus, 4th Avenue. You provide us with a copy of the plan for the marina after you go through this phase, doing the gas docks. You said there's other steps, but it would be nice if we had those items in the timeline for getting to them.
Certainly. I believe that I submitted it to the borough. If not, I will make sure that a copy of it is on file with the borough clerk, and then that way we can make it available in that fashion to anybody that wants to get a copy of the marina improvement plan.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Hi, Mr. Lewis. So I'm assuming this again is a floating dock, right? Similar
It
to
is.
what we have, right?
Yes.
So is there any kind of way that we can prevent the breakdown of the dock, like what we currently just went through with the foam and all of that? Or was that just wear and tear over time? Or do they make them differently now that they're kind of better to withstand salt water and all those storms and stuff?
All good questions.
Yeah.
So the docks that are out there now they were sized at the time for what they felt was the appropriate size. The new docks that we're specifying are gonna actually have double the supports with regards to the internal supports and the tie rods that hold the systems together. With regards to why the docks fail, there was a fuel leak that somehow made its way into the foam, and once the gasoline hits the foam, it pretty much it disintegrates, it just breaks down very quickly. So what we're doing to combat that is, the current design is that there's an attachment area that if there's a fuel spill, it would go into this little entrapment area. That can also have leaks on its way in and out, and that was recessed into the dock. What we're specifying on this current specification is it's a surface deck in catchment area, so it'll be about 12 inches high. So the pumps will be a little bit higher, but any fuel that happens to be spilled and all the piping going in and out won't be in the fuel, it won't be in the cell of the flotation, it'll be above deck. So that's a change
See
that
it
we're
quicker.
making.
Mhm.
And then the other thing we're contemplating is, right now there's like 6-inch diameter PVC conduit holes that the piping goes through as well as the electric. We're talking about maybe having, instead of it being in a concealed pipe, that we would have a surface tray, if you will, that has a grate over it, so that it would be molded right into the concrete, so you could lift up any section and inspect the pipe. So we went over that the other day with the folks at Bellingham Marine. We also talked about it with Jay and Charlie with regards to what their requests are, because they're out there every day, so we're trying to gather their input into the bid documents, and that's all going to be incorporated into the bid that'll be done in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Two questions. What would be the average lifespan of the new dock when it gets put in? When it's put in?
It should be between 10 and 20 years, and I know that's a pretty big span, but a lot of it has to do with weather and depends on the types of storms that we see. I believe these fuel docks were replaced right after Sandy, so we got 10, 11 years out of them before you started to have problems with them. And so this dock, I would say, because it's going to be more structurally sound, it's going to have double the supports, we should get closer to 20 years out of the dock.
My second question is, what would be the next item on the agenda in terms of the priorities after the fuel dock? Or what are you seeing?
So, Mayor, I'm
I
glad
know
you
there's
brought
many
that
of
up.
them.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because I neglected to mention that there are several pilings that are broken. And the biggest issue that we have with piling replacement is that they're typically 50 to 60 foot piling. And to get a contractor to come in and drive those piles, they need a barge. To get a barge here, they can't bring it over road because the machine that you need to drive the piles is larger than it could fit on a barge. So they have to literally tugboat the barge in through the inlet and bring it into the Shark River, which that mobilization cost is about $200,000 just to get the barge here. So as a part of the overall project, while we're doing the fuel docks, we're going to replace the pilings that are broken, as many as we can afford with regards to the available money right now. The next phase, I believe that there's another section of dock that has, I wouldn't say it has similar flotation issues, but does have issues with regards to its integrity. I don't recall off the top of my head which dock it was, but it was systematically going through and identifying the docks that have cracks and the docks that have started to see failure. Usually those docks are the ones that face the north, where we get a large fetch of wave coming in when we get the tide and the storm. That's really the biggest enemy of the docks. Gasoline, if the gasoline gets into the foam, and then the other is wave action is really what breaks them down. Bill, any other comment?
No, you pretty much spoke about it all.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I know that there has been some work on the bulkhead down below McCrary Park. But what's the condition of the bulkheads coming back all the way?
So
All the way to where the trestle is? What's the condition of bulkheads? How much work are they gonna need in the next few years?
So So, when you say the bulkhead, do you mean the seawall along the marina area?
Correct.
Yeah, so we've looked at that, there are signs that there are some areas that need attention, maybe replacement or repair, and you can tell that if there's loss of soil, from the top. So there are areas that is a priority in our overall marina, plan. But again, it's gonna come down to funding, priorities, funding, and if we can get grant money for any of the, improvements. We've been very proactive in applying for grants. I know the borough's received a few iBoat grants associated with the marina, creating transient slips. We're gonna continue to look for more grants. Millennium Strategies is our grant consultant, and they've been really having some great success, so we'll continue to leverage their knowledge and contacts for grant money to help offset the costs.
Thank you.
One more thing, marina related, we got an invitation Friday afternoon for a pre-construction meeting for the fender repair, on the Ocean Avenue Bridge, so we don't have details on that, we just, received that today. So we'll be going Friday afternoon to Monmouth County, for a pre-construction meeting, they're gonna talk about details for the Ocean Avenue Bridge, the fender system.
And that was something that, the county had actually had a few public information sessions, which was lukewarmly received by the, party boat community because there's concerns. They're gonna be going all year long, so we need to do our best to work with those folks because they're paying rent, they're trying to make their living, and I think the county is gonna do their best to do that, because they have plans to make sure they have the minimum width that the party boat community is looking for so that they can get in and out during the day.
Maybe you could just explain very briefly for people that might not know what a fender repair is.
Sure.
For the
Yeah,
bridge.
it's not like the fender
It's
on
not
your
a
car.
fender on the car. It's the-
Guardrail for boats.
Yeah, so the fender is kind of what it says, it fends off, boats from running into the structural components of the bridge. So those fenders are usually made out of piling and wood and over time they deteriorate, so those fenders are no longer functioning, so if they were to get hit hard, they probably wouldn't do much to stop a large boat from damaging the bridge. So that's why the county is moving forward to replace those fenders, and, so when they do that, they're gonna set up a barge in the neck of the bridge. And they need to make sure that they're only gonna do one side at a time, but they need to make sure they keep open enough clear width and take into account the bridge overhead, because it's not only surface width, but it's height. Because as they move closer to the side, they lose their height. So that's all factored into what the county's been working with the party boat captains.
When is that supposed to start?
I believe it's supposed to start in December.
We'll find out exactly.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly, but it's either late this year or early next year. There's typically in-water restrictions for work that you're doing, that, it's related to, migratory fish and what have you, so. But we'll know more, I'll be able to, provide an update to the administrator and to the governing body on the schedule.
Will that affect vehicle traffic over the bridge at all?
To my knowledge, no, the bridge is gonna stay open.
Haven't they started that removal of some of that fender before the Main Street Bridge had its issues, I think?
They may have, I'm not sure.
Yeah, they removed some of the fenders that were rotted. You know,
Probably they were
they used to
concerned
be
that
out
they
like
were
this, these
falling
have
in the
arms
water.
up. I'm sorry?
They were probably concerned they would fall in the water.
They were, I mean, I spoke to one of the gentlemen, they used to stick out like this, and now it's cut down to here.
Right.
But that was just before the Main Street thing, so I guess they stopped, they didn't want any, additional issues with getting in and out.
Right.
All right. Sweet.
So just to clarify, the bridge will be able to open and close normally?
Yes.
With traffic and boat traffic and, okay, just
Yes.
check.
Yep. No, there's gonna be no impact on traffic unless, of course, there's some, procedure that I'm not aware of. And I'll be able to find out more, but based on all the information that we receive, when the fender replacement occurs, it's only gonna impact the navigable waters. The Coast Guard's gonna be involved, they'll have to have, be notified and approved of the plan and so forth, so. Yes?
As far
far as vendors, what materials do you use basically? And is there a material that is more sustainable? You were saying it was like wood that you used. So is there something else that could be more sustainable and last longer?
So, another good question. So back in the day, we would use creosote, which is oil-based material impregnated into the wood. Then there was a time when we used the treated CCA lumber. I don't know what material the county's using. It's a county project. It's not a borough of Belmar's project. But I can find out. It's probably, it could very well be like a PVC coated material, or it could be a green heart, or it could be another type of material that has been proven not to be detrimental to the environment. Okay. So that's the marina. I also wanted to talk a little bit about streets, roads, drainage, sewer, water. So what I brought with me this evening is a color-coded map. What we were able to do when we came on board is very successfully work with Public Works, work with administration, work with the sewer department and the water department, gather the information that's been collected over the years in terms of the needs within the community. There was various areas of material or of information, but it really wasn't compiled into a matrix. So when we talk about what the priorities are,
Right in the middle here, maybe they should. I know it's small. Is this on our website? You know,
it is not, but we could put it on our website. And again, we have a report that was prepared that explains the methodology of how we looked at the roads, looked at the sewers, the water, the drainage, and then we came up with a list of road, and there's actually an Excel spreadsheet that's sorted by road and sorted by priority or its rating. So I know it might be tough to see, and there's a lot of colors up here, but just by way of reference, yellow is bad. We made it real technical. Yellow is bad. Purple is poor. Blue is fair, and green is a road in good condition. So you can see we have a lot of roads in that bad and poor condition, and that's part of the reason why we're focusing on some of the roads that are ready to go to bid, hopefully this fall. As a matter of fact, one of the road projects that we have planned for this year is 5th Avenue from C to Main Street, and I'd like to point out that that was a project that was it's DOT funded, but it was awarded in 2022. So it's a project that we have to have awarded to a contractor by November of 2024. So that project is going to include sewer replacement as needed. We're also going to be redoing the road. Any areas that need storm drainage improvements, we're going to be taking a look at that, making sure that that's taken care of. And we're also going to be taking care of any areas where we have lead service lines. And I didn't mention the issue with lead service lines, but when we talk about water main replacement, the EPA and the state of New Jersey has a requirement that the water department identify any lead service lines or galvanized service lines. And according to the DEP's requirements, those service lines will need to be replaced. So as we do a road project, we're going to be replacing water main if needed, but certainly any lead service lines will need to be replaced. So with regards to that, when we do 5th Avenue, we'll be replacing those service lines as well. So it's going to include water main where needed, sewer main where needed, lead service lines, and drainage as needed, and then resurfacing of the road. And again, that project has a DOT grant award associated with it, and that's why it's one of the priorities for us, because if we don't utilize that money, we would lose the money. So even if you think that this road is not as bad as some of the other roads, we're really locked into what had been previously awarded in 2022.
Okay, and I'm gonna make a point that it was awarded in 2022, because I know people will say. I had nothing to do with that. But it is running from C to Main, so just put it on the record. We had nothing to do with that. It's a coincidence that it's in front, one of the blocks is in front of my house.
Yes.
I know we're looking at 8th Avenue as well, which is one of the things we have on for bond ordinance.
Yeah.
When can we expect that we can actually see some work getting done on 8th?
So we are anticipating both projects to go out to bid at the same time with regards to 5th and 8th.
Okay.
8th has been identified as one of the highest priorities because of the issue with the infiltration with the sewer. So, and that project I think is from ocean to sea. And so when you drive down that road, as you see in the center line, it's undulated, there's a lot of settlement. There's video that we have that demonstrates that we have a large infiltration problem. That sewer line is one of the main trunk lines. I believe it's a 21-inch or 18 or 21-inch. It changes size as it heads towards the ocean. And then it goes into the pump station at the intersection with Ocean Avenue and 8th. So that project is going to include a relining of that sewer line. The depth of the sewer is probably in excess of 15 feet. So to open cut the road and try and replace it would be a huge undertaking and not necessary because we've taken a look at the condition of the pipe, and most of the issues that we have are leaking joints, and that's a perfect candidate whereby we can use the technique of lining the pipe with a polymer or fiberglass type material. We've had a lot of success doing that, and it will stop the I&I problem, and we'll get at least another 20 to 30 years lifespan out of that pipe by doing a sewer lining project. Yes.
You said sea to ocean. Why not further out? That
Yeah.
yellow goes all the way up on 8th.
So
For instance, past my house.
So I believe that we broke it out as what we thought was fundable in terms of bonding capacity. So one of the things that we have to do when we look at the overall matrix of what we can do and what the priorities are, again, we look at the technical parameters, which is, again, road, the condition of the road, the condition of the sewer, the water main, the drainage, the lead service lines, and we kind of overlay it all, right? Then when we come up with all of the projects that need to be done, we have to drop back and find out how much can we afford. And that's what we've done working with the CFO, not only for our infrastructure, but for the marina as well. And so what happens is the water department, and I don't want to talk out of school because I'm not a finance guy, but the water department and the sewer department are what's known as self-funding, self-liquidating. So that basically means as long as they can, as long as their expenses and their debt are in line with their income and rate and rate payers, then they're self-liquidating and they don't need to have down payments, and the rules for them are different. So we try and align our debt service with the projects that we can do. But the reports that we've done allow us to plan 5, 10, 15 years into the future.
You mentioned, did you use a camera study to look at those pipes? Was that done recently?
Some of it was, none of it was recent. I believe most of it was from 15 or 16. So
Okay.
these issues of infiltration coming through the pipes, there have been areas that repairs have been done in the past where the pipe meets the manhole, and there was an easy repair that could be done. But to get into a pipe where the joints are all leaking, there's really no way for you to do a patch. You really are, it's either replace it or line it.
Right.
But the video that we have, I've spoken with the executive director of Southern Monmouth Regional Sewage Authority, SMRSA, several times, Ryan Krause, who used to work at Birdsville, who used to be the engineer in town. And, you know, he recognizes that our issues are not new. And he's been providing some of his thoughts and input on where we should focus our efforts and what we, where we would probably get the most bang for our buck, so to speak.
Just gonna say, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
So with the plans to repave roads, I would like to suggest that people who haven't replaced their sewer lines be notified and perhaps establish a finance program so they could do it now rather than later, after the road is repaved. Because that has been a problem with so many, with all the construction roads being opened up, and it's
another good suggestion, when we undertake these types of projects, we'll actually send out notices to all the residents on the street when we're in the design phase, notifying them that the project is underway and that, they're not gonna be able to open the road, unless unusual or unforeseen conditions come up. And we also send it to all the utility companies, so if the gas company has a project, they're gonna be replacing main on a certain street, that they have their work done before we will get done. We try and do that early on in the project, and then we'll do it again when we're ready to go, when we're in the, in the pre-construction phase.
Yeah, it's not easy to get contractors out there in a week's notice.
Exactly, yes.
Thank you.
Is there a time that they're not allowed to cut? Like, I'm on 15th, I moved in a year later, it was gorgeous,
Right.
and they're already cutting for different things.
I have to check the ordinance. Madam Clerk, do we have a moratorium on road opening?
Yeah, it's 5 years.
It's 5 years. And just by way of reference, I think DOT is 3 years minimum. So it's like double the restriction.
Right.
So that's why we want to make sure we notify the residents, so that everybody has a chance to do what it is, whatever it is that they need to do. If they happen to be on an oil heat system and they don't have a, gas supply, if they have to, they want to replace their water line, sewer line.
Selling your house, rebuilding your house,
Yeah.
heating, you can't plan 3 to 5 and out, so
Right.
that I understand. I was just wondering if there's, the base. Because like I said, it's been maybe 3 since 15th was done, and it's starting to get cut up in a lot of places.
Yeah, well, I don't know in
It's
particular.
still a lot better than the
Than
rest.
some other streets, right. Mayor, do you want to?
Yeah, I was gonna say, a lot of people may not understand how why there's a pump station on Ocean Avenue and why the sanitary sewer system flows towards, goes east, and then it has to get over to Smyrna, which is by ShopRite, over on 18th Avenue. Maybe you could just give us a brief, idea of how things flow into that 8th Avenue, and then once it gets to the pump, like where does it go?
Right, right.
So they understand that it's a big loop,
It is a big loop, and you would think that you might see all of the sanitary sewer run away from the ocean, but as near as I can tell, and it's different in every town, but in this town, looking back at some of the old maps, I believe that there's an underground vault that a lot of the borough used to drain to, and then there was also an ocean outfall that basically the effluent would, on a periodic basis, be pumped out into the ocean. That's, back in the 60s and 70s before the Clean Water Act. But if I was looking on some of the old maps, and Billy and I were looking at them the other day, and we pointed to the one, there used to be a pipe right there that went out into the ocean all by itself, and that would probably have been your discharge pipe for your sanitary sewer. So that's why everything drains that way. And so, but ultimately, the pump station now is alongside of that, and that vault's no longer in use as far as I know. If it is, it's tied to the pump station, and then the effluent is pumped, I believe, south to Lake Como. There's probably another pumping station that then brings it out back towards the mainland, towards the treatment facilities.
So it goes probably along, I don't know if it goes along Ocean Avenue or A Street.
I think it's Ocean Avenue, what we were talking about the other day. That's actually the Smurfs line.
Okay.
That's
And then from there it goes, we don't know if it goes down 18th or 19th.
Off the top of my head, I don't know, I can find that out.
But it
But
does.
even this area here, this all drains to Rhode Island, but everything drains,
Up there.
yes,
It just doesn't seem.
correct. Yep.
But there is another drain. There's another one down by L Street, isn't there? Isn't there another pump that goes to Smyrna, or is there only one line that goes to Smyrna?
I think, is that the one that pumps down and around and into 8th Street?
On 35?
Yeah.
Yes.
Kind of runs parallel.
Yeah.
So there is another one too.
Yeah, but I think that winds up pumping and crosses the railroad track and comes back to 8th.
So it all
Line. It all goes back to the same.
So basically, all of the sanitary sewer system goes up 8th Avenue.
Yes, it's, I believe at its largest point, it's like the 21-inch pipe, and then the last leg goes to 24-inch pipe. So it's pretty large pipe for sanitary sewer purposes. and it's all reinforced concrete pipe. So, but that's the 8th Avenue project, and that's like at the tipping point of what we could afford, I should say, the bonding, for the year. And then we're gonna use the information to look for more grants. I've talked a lot about grants. 14th Avenue, that also has a grant from the DOT. And, this year, when we applied for a grant, from DOT, we applied for 6th Avenue, and 6th Avenue, all the way down to B Street, 6th and South Lake. And we're also gonna be looking to upgrade the stormwater outfalls there with environmentally friendly techniques, as a part of the grant application. So, there are, manufactured treatment devices out there that can help sort out and remove some of the solids and some of the impurities before it would go into the lake. That would be the first step to help with the water quality too, because many of the outfalls in and around the lake all drain to the lake. So, with regards to, the boardwalk, I don't know if we wanted to talk about that, is that part of our infrastructure? The borough received a $1.5 million grant from the state of New Jersey to do a new bathroom at 16th. So that's in the conceptual planning phases. That grant, I think, had a $75,000 match. It was a very minor match. So that project is slowly kicking off. And I would tell you that we're probably looking at having that facility built, over the course of 25 and be ready for the summer of 26. So that, it's gonna take that long because of the permits that are involved. It's gonna require capital permits, because it's gonna be the way that we've laid out the project. It'll be pile supported on the beach side of the boardwalk, and similar to the other pavilions that we have. But that's all in concept plan phase right now. But the good news is, the boardwalk preservation fund provided the borough with $1.5 million for the project.
While you're on the subject, can you just give an update for the 3rd Avenue restroom? I know we've talked about it, but just of where it stands right now.
Absolutely. So, we've had several discussions with DEP with regards to all the bathroom trailers. And we're moving forward with their directive. So we have a beach access permit that says that all the trailers have to come off the beach within a certain time frame. We submitted a permit modification, and the trailers at 19th, 16th, 11th, and 8th can be there, but we have to get a flood hazard permit. So we're in the process of doing that. And then at 3rd, well, the trailer at 6th was removed because we have the bathrooms at the Taylor Pavilion. The trailer at 3rd didn't qualify in the DEP's eyes as having pre-existed before a certain date. So they essentially said that we can't have that trailer there. So we're going to apply for a CAFR permit so that we can get a permit to build or put a trailer back there. So that's the intent. From a regulatory standpoint, we have to submit for a CAFR permit as a new, not a pre-existing location, as a new location, which would include a CAFR permit and a flood hazard permit. That's going to take some time, but they're typically on a clock, meaning a 90-day clock. Once you submit, deemed complete, takes 90 days, and then that clock. They can always ask for extensions, but it's something that can get permitted over the course of the off-season months.
And that'll give us enough time, if need be, to purchase a new trailer?
Yes, and we should be cognizant of the delivery times on the trailers and talk about how that can happen, for sure.
Great, thank you.
You might as well touch on a couple other engineering projects you've been working on, over Silver Lake, Taylor Pavilion, and the gazebo.
Sure.
Finished.
So the Taylor Pavilion project, with regards to the new bathrooms, and also the east wall reconstruction. So I'll start there. The east wall, there was glass doors there that are now replaced with windows. And those windows actually provide a better view because there's no panes on them. There's no more grid on the windows. And we're also waiting for the single 3.0 or, like the regular opening doors. I think there's a double and a single. Yes. A double and a single. Those doors are on order, and they're going to be replaced in August. We're going to work with Mr. Walsh with regards to timing to make sure that we don't impact anybody that might be using the pavilion concerns. They're substantially done. There's some punch list work that needs to be attended to with regards to paint, or there was an issue with one of the mini split units that had a lot of condensation damage to the wall. We have to work with the contractor on that. We're also working to make sure that the stainless steel panels are either, make sure they're correct. From what we've seen from the submittals, they are the correct T304 stainless. And the contractor has made a recommendation with the specific material that it should be cleaned with. If that doesn't work, we're gonna tell them to pull the panels out and get us new panels. Because if they're gonna exhibit that type of discoloration and brown color, it's not gonna be acceptable. And we do have that contractor still on his performance bond. He's not even made it to maintenance bond, so we haven't paid him. Yes?
Where was the stainless steel you're talking about made? Where does it come from?
So I believe it was American made.
It is American
I
made?
do have the catalog cut over there. I can double check that. But it was as specified by the architect, and it was a higher grade stainless steel that's used typically. The designation is T304.
All right, because I've heard many bad things about Chinese stainless. Many bad things.
So, but the interesting thing is the panels in the men's room. If you go in there, they're not exhibiting the same thing. I honestly, if it's not something that happened with if it's not something associated with a cleaning agent, I think it just might be a defective lot. I mean, it could just easily be those panels came from a different lot, and there was something in the production that caused it to have a defect. But we will make sure it's right. So, okay, so with regards to the gazebo, that project expanded due to necessity. So the Public Works, Mr. Musto and I went out and looked at the gazebo a few times and thought that from what we saw that it didn't have many structural problems to it. But we also didn't pull off all the facades because the columns that are there are bounded by decorative board. However, there was a very large windstorm that we had came through, and that windstorm racked the gazebo. And at that time, we pulled off the boards and identified that at least 4 of the 8 columns had been deteriorated at its base, and they were no longer in contact with the decking or with the supports underneath. So we got quotes to do the repair on that gazebo, and as the contractor kept working through the actual repair, he identified that when he pulled the decking back, that the existing framing, having nothing to do with the windstorm or nothing to do with anything that the contractor did, the existing framing wasn't sitting properly on the concrete foundations. These columns never made it to the concrete foundation. They were just screwed into the decking. That's how they were. So we had to devise a way to make the columns structurally sound and look at the framing in and around the columns. So that added more time and effort to the project. And then as we peeled back more of the decking to finish the project, we identified that there were some large notches in the framing that needed to be addressed. So there was additional framing to do that. All of that took time with regards to when we identified the problem, then we had to drop back and come up with a solution, and it all needed inspection. So that's why the project took so long. We did make some improvements to the gazebo. Not only the structural components are much more sturdy than it ever was before, but the gazebo is 99.9% maintenance free with regards to the railing, columns, and the decorative railing up top. The only thing that's not is the little arches all the way up top. There's like there's 16 of them that have had to be painted once in a while, but for the most part, it was really unforeseen conditions that drove all the additional work so that we could make sure that the gazebo would be secure and structurally safe and last quite a few more years now.
Is it finished now, the gazebo? Is it done?
It is, yes.
Oh, no.
Yep, it's complete. So if you go and you look, all of the railings that you see there are now, they're maintenance-free, but they're not just regular plastic railings, they're structural railing with aluminum support in the center, because they span a little bit more than 10 feet, which was also a problem, because most of the railing comes in 6, 8, and 10 foot. Ours were like 10'6". So there was some trouble with that as well. But the gazebo took longer than we had hoped for, but you have a much stronger maintenance-free gazebo now, at least from the roof down.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Jim, for that enlightening presentation. I think I learned new things too. Next, we have softball field improvements. And I have a feeling Councilwoman Donovan is doing this.
Coming back up. Don't worry, this is much shorter, both in that and my last presentation, so. Well, while that's warming up, I'll just kind of start. I had the honor of, oh, great. Can you hear me? Great. I had the honor of coaching my daughter's softball team this spring, which was a wonderful experience. I played softball growing up. But the one thing I noticed while I was coaching, and Councilman, what's up? Are they doing anything special for that? Oh. Anyway, the one thing that we noticed was, and Councilman Levis isn't here today, but he and I were on the same track before we spoke to each other about that, and he's been working on this with me, is that even though there are a lot of beautiful baseball fields around here, there is maybe one decent girls' softball field over in Spring Lake Heights. Spring Lake. Besides that, the girls in Belmar, Avon, Spring Lake Heights, are playing on fields that are sand and pebbles. And it's a shame, and it shouldn't be that way. So we came up with a plan along with our engineer, who has been tireless here, to fundraise for to redo the softball field on 14th of May. But here we go. So the problem with the current field as is, if you guys have ever been there, is that it is in disrepair. It floods really easily. It is also very rocky. The proportions aren't quite right. The clay is low quality. There's no dugouts, no scoreboards, and some of the equipment that we'd like is, we don't know. So this is the proposal for the new one. We have new clay. We have a proposed dugout, which would be fencing along the sides with a hard top, which was recommended to us by many people. There would be two new scoreboards, one facing the baseball field, which is over on 12th and Railroad, one for the softball field, which actually the PTO has already agreed to donate, along with a batting cage, and then proposed extra, if we can afford them, areas for warming up, along with the PTO has requested a long jump area for the elementary school track team. And that's that light blue area there up on the top. So that's the proposal as is. We wouldn't do this all at once. This would come in phases. That's the team I had to sneak a picture in. The phase one would be the new clay and the scoreboard. Phase two, dugouts. And then we'll be looking at batting cages in the pitcher's area. I should tell you now, softball fields are not little baseball fields. They're different fields. The major thing you should know is that there's no grass in the softball infield. It is all clay. The other thing is that there's no mound on a softball field. It is a circle. It has to be flat because girls pitch differently than in baseball. So all that has to be done. I've met with Tri-Shore, they're very interested in supporting this project. They know that the entire Little League, Tri-Shore Little League needs more softball. So this field would be an asset. We're not talking about an asset just for Belmar girls. This would also be usable for area Avon, Belmar, Lake Como, Spring Lake Heights. And of course, for slow pitch if they were interested in using it as well. It would also bring in more people to that area of Main Street, which is badly needed. Right across is Hazel. They do great. Girls love Hazel, that store anyway, but that surrounding area, and there is parking over there as well. What do I have? So to support this, we will be looking for corporate donors, but on October 6th, please save the date. We will be having a cornhole tournament over at Bar A. Cornhole is really fun. We think you'll all enjoy it. It would be $100 per team, two-person teams. To register, you can come in for $30 without doing the tournament. Kids are free. We welcome kids to come in. And I hope everyone can join us there. And I'm happy to take questions. Thank you. We're hoping that we would have the new clay down and be ready for the spring. That's right.
Do you want me to take that? You good?
I think Linda had a question.
Yes.
What's the cost for the different phases of your project?
We priced out the new clay in that first phase between around $30,000. We don't have multiple quotes for the dugouts yet, but we had one that came in around 40 for the dugouts, which would just be benches, an on-deck area, and like I said, that hard top with the fence around the side. And the scoreboard was a little under 10 grand.
Okay, any other questions? Anyone? Okay, let's, any other workshop issues, discussion? Okay, let's move on to petitions. Did we receive any petitions since the last meeting?
I did not receive any.
Okay, then I guess we're up to approval of the minutes.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the July 23rd meeting? Motion. Second. Okay. Councilman Kinney? Or Councilman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Buckfusco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondenero?
Yes.
Okay, reports of council. Councilwoman Donovan.
I wanted to point out to everyone that we have a small wireless ordinance on today's agenda, and I wanted to explain that to everyone really quick. If anyone gets my emails, you know I was watching that Supreme Court case that put down the decision about the Chevron doctrine recently, which basically said that the legislative body should be, that it took away some power from regulatory agencies to hand down rules, handing that power back to legislative bodies. And so when that happened, I asked our telecommunications attorney to write a memo asking if that could be applied to our situation here in Belmar, which he did. And the result is this ordinance. And what it does, I wanted to make sure to explain this, is that the current lawsuit is between Verizon and Monmouth County. One of the possible outcomes in that lawsuit is that it would get sent back to the beginning again here in Belmar. That's when this would apply. This makes it small cells illegal on Ocean Avenue. One of the questions I'm anticipating is why not all of Belmar? And that's simply because that would not be reasonable, and a judge would throw that out. Does that mean that that would stick? Maybe not. But we see three possible situations here. One is that it gets sent back to the beginning and Verizon challenges us and they win. One is that, another is Verizon challenges us and they lose. And another is that Verizon evaluates this situation and decides that they then have to take the chance that if they challenge us and they lose, that they are setting a national precedent that will not work out for them. And so we are hoping that maybe they will consider that and decide to work with us instead. And that's your Verizon update. Environmental Commission, I am under the impression that there has been a vendor packet that has gone out to a goose mitigation service, so we're waiting on that, but that's a good step in the right direction. We have applied to 2 more grants, a wetlands grant and one from a private company, which is but another, we've applied for 2 more grants, so that's great. We've also been slowly getting the idea down to do a video on recycling for the borough and Lake Como and the elementary school, so that is in very, very early stages. We will be having the next tourism commission meeting is coming up tomorrow. I was lucky enough to attend to the first breakfast for the new Chamber of Commerce yesterday, and looking forward to working closely together with them to bring in more people to all 3 of our business districts, the Marina, Main Street, and Ocean Avenue. And finally, the Harbor Commission is very excited about the plans presented by the engineer, and we are looking forward to getting moving on these really big, really important projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman McKinney.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Mr. Orris, for your presentation. That was great. Wonderful updates on everything happening in town. Thank you, Councilwoman Donovan, for your Verizon update and this exciting softball fields improvements. The only update I really have is just recreation. Fall signups for soccer are still happening now. You have a few weeks to register for both that and fall tennis signups. Winter basketball signups clinics are already starting for that. The next signups for clinics for winter basketball is September 1st. And then Andrew Lobby is going to be performing this Friday in the plaza. Around the schools, the only thing I have is that Belmar Elementary School is anticipating getting their new metal roof that should be installed before the first day of school. The first day of school for Belmar Elementary is September 4th, and the St. Rose schools start September 5th. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rondanero.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to congratulate as well our Belmar Chamber of Commerce and its executive members who are working hard to keep Belmar businesses thriving. Although I missed the ribbon cutting this weekend, I got my hair cut at the new salon, Main Beach, across from the elementary school, and got to congratulate the owner, Natasha Kandari, and her wonderful staff. Since this is our last meeting in August, I just wanted to thank the entire beach staff, our beach checkers, bathroom attendants, lifeguards, our camp director, our counselors, junior lifeguard teams, Belmar Water Rescue Team, our police department, our specials, our DPW for keeping the beach so clean, and everyone who's helping make this summer a successful one for the beachgoers here. Thank you, Jim Morris, for your discussion of the 3rd Avenue bathrooms. I'm crossing my fingers that we get good news with the CAFRA permit. The Belmar Housing Authority met last Monday. They voted to reject the proposal to join Belmar's affordable plan, which we had already anticipated from their last meeting. On the facade issues, when asked when we could expect the federal funding from Congressman Smith's community development funding, Executive Director DeSantis stated that the BHA could be waiting up to 8 months. So I'm really hoping that they're not going to be waiting that long because they are waiting to get the funds to get the bid out for the facade repairs. On the positive, I was told that the backup generator worked well during a small power outage that they had recently, so no one had to worry about having use of the elevator, or not having use of the elevator. I'm currently working on advocating for moving up the start completion date of the promised crosswalk from NJDOT. It's currently scheduled for completion in 2027. And I'd like to ask the mayor and the council if I draft up a letter, if I could get your support on that, and we can send that forward to NJDOT and see who else we could maybe get to help co-sign a letter of support, because our seniors that's a dangerous crosswalk for our seniors. Thank you to our Belmar Police Department and for our chief for making sure we have a new sign for the crosswalk that is there. That's much appreciated. The Belmar Public Library has Danny White on the lawn of this library this Thursday at 6 p.m. And then the Eboro Bandits, August 20th at 6 p.m. That's Tuesday. Bilingual Story Times is Friday at 10, and Tech Times for adults and seniors, which I'm now feeling like I could really use Tech Time, is Sundays at noon. And the next Belmar Public Library Board of Trustees meeting is September 9th, where the Strategic Plan Committee will present our strategic plan to the trustees. Thank you.
Okay, as usual, the council members have covered everything that there is to cover, leaving nothing for me. So unless there's one last minute.
I almost forgot. I wanted to send out a congratulations to Amy White, who we honored here last year. She again took first place in, I believe, 2 different events in nationals, in the National Lifeguarding Competition. And we had 2 junior guards who also won in their divisions at the National Junior Guard Tournament. So congratulations to them.
Okay. That's it for reports of council. Let's go to the public session for the resolutions on the agenda. If anyone has a comment they would like to make, please step up to the mic and state your name and address.
Okay, can I have a motion to close the public session?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I have a motion to approve the resolutions? We'll do it as a consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the 3 resolutions as a consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Councilman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Buckafusco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondinero?
Yes.
Next, we'll do first reading and introduction of ordinance 2024-17. This is a bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements and authorizing the issuance of bonds and notes to finance a portion of the costs thereof. We have a motion to offer for first reading.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Councilman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Buckafusco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondinero?
Yes.
And next is ordinance 2024-18. This is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 43, small wireless facilities in the right-of-way to further regulate small cell wireless facilities in the borough. Do you have a motion to offer for first reading and introduction?
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Buckafusco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondinero?
Yes.
Right, now we're on to public session. If anyone would like to speak, please step forward, state your name and address first.
They're here, 18th and B, can't let me go without something. I know we like to be ahead of things a lot of times, kind of like we were with the plastic bags and everything. So maybe we can start thinking of, don't get that going. Maybe we can start thinking about something with the e-bikes, okay? The skid marks on the boardwalk is a pure sign. To me, it's a mini motorcycle. They should go the same way a car should have to go, and everything else. So food for thought, kind of like the Florida Flag workshop, let's have an e-bike workshop, okay? Second thing is the beach is coming to a close, let's say, in a couple weeks. Has there ever been a study done as to the timing that we open a beach? Like right now, I think it's 9 o'clock. Like maybe we start to open it at 8, close it at 4, to see how many people come on before 9 that don't pay versus people that come on after 4 o'clock. Food for thought, okay? And my annual Run for the Fallen is coming up on September 29th, approximately 9 a.m., and I will be back to remind everybody, and I'm sure we'll have some publicity on it. Thank you.
What day of the week is that, Claire?
Sunday. Sunday. It runs for like 4 days, but they'll be coming through here on Sunday. We don't need a special event for it, they just cruise right through town and everything, so. And last but not least, Councilwoman Kinney, congratulations on 19 years of wedded bliss.
Oh, thank you so much. It's my anniversary.
Today's my anniversary, so thank you, Claire.
And you're here.
I did have a quick question about that, if I could just direct that to Scott. What are the rules with e-bikes? I mean, do they fall under the rule of a regular bicycle? Do they fall?
Very complex. There's 3 different levels of e-bikes. the ones that you guys are, everyone's seeing out there that are running 30, 40 miles an hour are illegal, basically. People are being told to register them, but if you go to DMV to register them, you can't register them. I have a whole PowerPoint presentation that I could send to you so you can look over it, but there's 3 different classes, and it really depends on which one and what rules apply to that.
So,
Yeah.
meaning like some don't go as fast as others? Because I see people flying without a helmet. I mean, it's crazy, like almost running people over.
And I've been looking into the different ordinances the towns around us have, like Wall Township has an e-bike ordinance, Manasquan has an e-bike ordinance. So it's something that we can look into to make it fit for Belmar. I don't think, the one in Wall Township's great, but the roads in Wall Township are highways. They're not, municipal streets and stuff like that. So I can definitely, we can get together and talk about it.
I would like to do that. I'll meet with you on that. That would be great.
Yeah, if you could actually send that to all of us.
Absolutely,
We could all take a look at it.
Yeah, it's not just simple, I just worked with, the Chiefs Association of the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office. We just did a week-long, PSA on it through social media, and, there's a lot of information there too, so I can get a copy of that.
Okay, that'd be great.
And we were also posting it on our, PD page as well, so.
Well, on 319 Fifth Avenue, on the e-bikes, and you're right, it's like 3 types. E-bikes have really, they have a pedal assist, which is the easiest type of e-bike. You are only moving forward if you are pedaling. Then, what you see a lot of younger people driving around town are the throttle assist.
Oh, yeah, it's almost
Kind of like a
mobile.
motorcycle, not as safe as a pedal assist. And then you have the 3rd level, which I think now you need to be licensed for the 3rd level. It's like a mini motorcycle in a sense.
And it's supposed to be registered and insured, but like I said, if you go to DMV, they don't register them. So there's a disconnect between the state and these,
So,
go figure.
Angela and I are really casual bikers. We'll bike down to Lake Como, we'll go to Asbury or that. I have a coaster bike, no gears, I have a 7-speed bike. And before the e-bike, we had the pedal assist. We bought that because it's the safest. If it was windy out, which most of the days here it's windy, we wouldn't go out bike riding. Now with the e-bike, with the pedal assist, we go out all the time. We go down 4th Avenue from 5th Avenue, and every block on 4th Avenue has stop signs, except the 16th. So that's the only block that really you have a concern with. And then you just make a couple of turns, you're down at Lake Como, which we all know Lake Como has the path around the lake, which is beautiful. But now we don't even think about the wind. We want to go out bike riding, we'll go bike riding. We're down to the marina. So the pedal assist really has changed, socially for us. And we're not going fast. I'm probably going slower on my e-bike than I do with my regular bike. But it's just a major difference. So I'd just like you to remember that. And I think, with the e-bikes, I think that we're following the same rules. Like you're supposed to get down, one-way street. You're supposed to stop at a stop sign. A lot of people aren't doing that. But just bear in mind that the pedal assist is really something that has been great for seniors.
And just to clarify, I have nothing negative against e-bikes. I just think there needs to be more rules with regards to how fast they can go. The helmets, the boardwalk, there should just be much stricter rules and regulations, in my opinion, because I think people are gonna get hurt, and probably have already.
Yeah. I think it's really about enforcement.
Right.
Because the people who are not paying, doing what they want to do, are going to continue to do it. It's really about enforcement.
Mr. Orris, I know for the path that we proposed for around Silver Lake for the grant, is the same or similar to the one around Lake Como. How well does that hold up to something like an e-bike? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, the porous pavement will do just fine with e-bikes. That's not a problem.
That's good.
Mr. Piper's first concern. I know that the chief is looking in, or has contacted Monmouth County for a traffic study on 16th to see if there's something that can be done. I know several residents have reached out about the speeding and maybe needing more stop signs on 16th, and I completely agree with that from living right off it.
Did I see a speed sign on 16th?
Yes, yes, we added a stationary, permanent speed sign eastbound on 16th Avenue, which took several months to get the approval to get on there, so I understand with the state, with the 8th Avenue, it's not a phone call, hey, can we do this? Yeah, okay, you know, so it's not like it's not that we're not doing it, it's just the turnaround on county and state responses is not that great.
We had I believe a resident at the BHA make a very good point about maybe there's something that we can do borough-wise with kind of flashing lights or something at the crosswalk that's current in the meantime, since we are waiting for.
I'm not sure that we can do that because of the lights for the railroad, for the train. It's too close, and I think that's more the reason why it was being moved over. It's too close to the flashing lights for the train.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Can I have a motion to close the public session?
I'll make the motion.
In a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have one more item. It's a resolution, 2024-162, a resolution of the Council of the Borough of Belmar authorizing to adjourn into executive session, whereas it has been determined by the Borough Council that it is necessary to discuss the following specific matter at its regular meeting in the absence of the public, pending or anticipated litigation regarding property tax assessments and the attorney-client privilege communications related thereto, whereas the Open Public Meetings Act permits the Borough Council to exclude the public from that portion of a public meeting. And now therefore be it resolved that the Borough Council shall recess into a private executive session from which the public shall be excluded to discuss the above referenced matters, that the scope of the aforesaid executive session shall be limited to the above matters as stated, that those matters discussed in executive session shall remain confidential until the time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists, and that minutes of the closed session shall be taken and kept free from public review until such time that the need for confidentiality no longer exists, and that the regular meeting of the Borough Council shall resume after the private executive session, at which time the council may take action. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, Councilwoman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Buckafusco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondonero?
Yes.
Okay. So we're gonna go into an executive session and then we'll come back out just to adjourn the meeting. Oh, and also, just to let everyone know, this is the only meeting this month. The August 27th meeting has been canceled, so our next meeting will be September 10th.